Okay then. Where were we? Right, I was going to do the Reddit Q&A and early game, mid-game transition stuff. Okay, let's get the Q&A thing out of the way first. Where were we? Right. Therapist perk from Valkyria Squad. How does it work? Well, let's read the tooltips. What do they say? If we go into class selections and we go on Valkyria, it says... Yeah, I'm not seeing the therapist work. Did I change it? I may have changed it, but I don't think so. Classes? Yeah, I didn't change it, so... Percent to status effectiveness. Valkyria Squad. Not Valkyria Squad. Ah, shock effect, emergency revival. Dealing damage that applies an effect grants 2 XP. Shock effect. No, this is just shock effect. I might have changed it in the update. Do we have another one that says something like that? Nope. Dismantler, precise, beneficial. No, I don't think so. Tritons is pain immunity, heavy weapons, last bullet, addiction, stationary defense, eclipse blade. Yeah, I don't think so. Must be an older version thing. Story quests, we won't be handling spoilers. Management units answered his own question. There's a quest. Well, a mission you need to do to kill the CEO and take over that whole place. Favorite class, right? The implication seems to be of the favorite class is the rats, and well, I can understand that. No. Best class is Scout of Hades, because the rats, as far as I remember, while their thing with spawning extra loot spawns is nice, the loot odds on people, and that's what the trait applies to, skill applies to, the perk, whatever. Yeah, passive perk. The perk applies to is that it gets extra loot spawns on fallen enemies, and they have terrible chip spawn chances. So yeah, it's nice if you struggle to prepare for mission, but otherwise it's meh. If you're really trying to farm chips, I think like on the last version, and on this one it seems to be as well, the best way to farm chips seems to be to find low power missions with lots of floor against an enemy with high tech that has all the chips unlocked. That way you can get quickly check repeated spawns which have higher chip likelihood, which seems to be loot containers near the shuttle on the mission, libraries, and electronics stuff that usually contains like switchboards and transistors and stuff like that, wires. Those seem to be chip spawning places. Those in places that usually spawn like libraries that spawn like prototype plans and stuff like that. Okay. Cargo management, yeah. Quasimorph of Android. Augmentation implant, haven't gotten around to that quite yet. Don't really understand the collector mindset. This game is hard. Kind of. Like, I have a small, what's it called? Short video playlist thingy with like lessons and teachable moments and embarrassing deaths and stuff. And the thing about that is that there are a couple of basic rules that you need to follow or the game will just randomly kill you. And it will kill you not because the game is randomly cruel, but because there are just some stuff that if you do it kills you. Like it's how I died like 5 times in this second campaign until I relearned the rules. Rule number 1, the basic rule: open no doors without leftover IP. You need at least 1 P leftover so you can duck out of the door and not get shot in the face, because if you open the door with your last AP and there is one or multiple guys right behind it, you will get shot in the face multiple times and just die. And this has a corollary, which is rule 2, which is go around no corners without AP to go back into cover. Same thing with doors. If you go around the corner in a long hallway and it's filled with enemies, you will get shot, you will get grenaded, you might survive, but you might also just randomly die. So you need to have AP saved up to walk back and run to cover, so you don't get shot by a lot of people, and at worst you get shot by 1 person or 2 if they come right around the corner. Which leads into lesson 3, which wasn't actually lesson 3 in the campaign, but is actually lesson 3 in the list of basics, which is that if you read the tooltip for your action points when you're crouching, when you only have single action point per turn, you will see that it says that you are capable of listening and hearing enemies. What it means is that you can, when you pause and stand in place while crouched, you can hear enemies 3, 4, sometimes even 5 tiles away, and that includes through walls and doors. So basically, by crouching beside the door, not in front of the door, because if you crouch in front of a door and pause, sometimes you're unlucky enough that the other side opens the door and then shoots you in the face. Which is still better than you opening the door and getting shot in the face twice, but again, you get shot in the face. So it's best to stand right beside the door, so that even if they do open the door, they still need to step through so they can shoot you. And pause for a turn so you can sense, see, hear if there are enemies right beside the door waiting to ambush you, so you can pull them out if there are there, and not get ambushed when you open the door. So these 3 things will save you a massive amount of grief, and they all together lead into point number 4, which is that you never want to be in a situation when you're exchanging fire if you don't have a lot of cover or massively outrage your enemies so you can shoot them and they can't shoot you. And we do this by pulling enemies. You find prepared positions where you have preferably hard cover, and then you lure your enemies into those positions and slaughter them as they come. It's really like, it's how the game is played. Like, you can use other stuff, and you also need to have, like, at the start of every floor you have nowhere to run, so you need some Molotovs. So you can play deny the hallway, deny the room with fire, which will spread and kill a hell of a lot of them as they swarm and clear space. But generally speaking, with a couple of Molotovs, pulling enemies, never going around doors or corners without AP and listening, you will evade most deaths. Like, I've had, how many? I have had 7 deaths in the second campaign so far, and 5 of them were preventable if I did those things perfectly. I did not do them perfectly. I do them a lot, but I didn't do them perfectly, and so I died 5 times. Those are 5 of my 7 deaths in this campaign. That's with like 40 successful missions completed so far. And that's in, like, what was the time? 45 plus hours or something like that so far in this campaign, and I'm firmly into the mid-game. We'll get on what that means later, but yeah, just those 4 rules. Open no doors without AP, turn no corners without AP, don't advance, go back into cover, and listen around corners and doors, so you can know the enemy is there before you, like, just suddenly step into them and then need to run for cover. Do those 4 things and most preventable deaths will stop. The 5th preventable death thing is another one of my deaths in this campaign, and plenty in the previous one, which is always ensure your enemies only have one way to get to you. If they have multiple ways of getting to you, you need to watch all of them at the same time, or if one is somehow behind you, you have no other way than standing at the crossroads, then you need to check behind you every turn, because a 3-move or a 2-move enemy can cross your vision field really damn fast and shoot you in the back, and that starts a spiral that will kill you easily. So do those 5 things, and do them consistently, do them all the time, and missions generally get a lot easier. The 6th thing you can do is more of a trick and less than a rule, which is pick up a shotgun with cutting bullets and run around corners. With running turn, you have 3 AP, which means that you can step around the corner, fire a shotgun once, and step back. And in those step into the corner and step back from the corner, you can also reload the shotgun. Which one of those pumps that reload one bullet, one shell at a time. So you step out, shoot, reload while stepping out, step out, shoot, reload while stepping out. With decent accuracy, you will one-shot, one-kill most enemies at less than 3 range. And as long as they're coming one at a time, you can kill basically an infinity of enemies. You'll run out of shells before anything else, or of the rifle, shotgun if you're not using the gunsmith. It works. It works fairly well. It's not the best plan, cover is better, but it also works. Where was I? Best minor faction to proxy. I don't know. I'll need to look into it. But I think choosing which minor faction to proxy, by the time you get to be able to proxy, you should have no trouble getting any resource you want, except chips, so that you can manufacture whatever you want and upgrade whatever you want. And so in that sense, I think choosing which minor faction to proxy should be more of a role-play thing, like, are you a cultist for Honor of Quasimorphs? Are you a contractor on the side of the corps? Do you want to have a corpus of your own? Are you with the civil resistance? And depending on that, that should decide who you proxy. Like, go against whoever your roleplay enemies are. Such a large choice shouldn't be decided, but by which faction is best? That sounds a bit silly to me. I mean, play however you find it fun, but that sounds just silly. Changes for, the Proxy Cell, Emerald Cult, Feather Cult, Proxy Syndicate, or Sanguinary Cult. Are you playing Quasimorph, Independent, or Civil Resistance? Valkyries are still in the game, yes. Which planet Moon Station has Quasimorphosis and which does not? In the EU elements near the planet. This used to be in the game, but I'm not sure if it still is. I can almost swear that when you went to map and you went to Mercury, and it was somewhere around here. Info? Start of exploration. Spontaneous. Mercury. Operate on the surface. Mountain range is deep and it's possible to create insulator. Volcano. Citadel 1. What does Volcano say? Volcano says 3 stations. Early years of active exploration. Okay, nothing about Quasimorphs. And Citadel 1 says Tianming. Habitable ring. Yeah, it doesn't seem to say if there is a Quasimorph, but let's look at this stuff. Maybe it shows it somehow. Venus also has the same characteristics. GMO jungles. Okay. Looking habitable planet after Earth. Says nothing about Quasimorph. Attitude creator havoc. Blade of the Ready. Was lucky enough. Okay. And Mechta. Because we know Venus has Quasimorphs. And I'm pretty sure Mercury does. At least it did have in the previous. But 100 Venus pool dreamed for itself and it became. Tiny. Earth. Snochki Moon. Yeah, doesn't seem like it. I don't think. I could have sworn Interdict regulation active ecological. I could have sworn there was somewhere in the data or the info something about whether or not there were Quasimorph. Central structure. Because Earth and Silovsky don't have Quasimorphs, but Moon and Fuller do. There doesn't seem to be any sign of it on any of these. Yeah, Mars doesn't have Quasimorph, but it doesn't have any other different signature than any of the rest of them. I could have sworn that was different before, like that there was something in either info or these signaling that showed whether or not Quasimorphs were present. Either there or in the description, but nope. Doesn't seem it. Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, doesn't seem like it. Maybe later. Okay, let's just get out of the screen so we don't accidentally travel somewhere. 1,000 questions. No, don't click that. Open it in a new tab so I don't lose my place. Countless mastered combat. Yeah, managing corporations and keeping a balance between them is mid-game, late-game stuff. We'll get to that. He doesn't want the Hexarchs to disappear. I want the Quasimorph to disappear. Yeah, you don't need to be on good terms with the faction to get their tech. You can also steal it during missions against them by finding chips that they have, like on the ground or in their libraries and stuff like that. You don't have to be good with the faction to get their tech. Yes, tech level depends. Like, the question is, does the number of missions you do against the faction actually make a big difference how company tech level develops? Somewhat. The thing is that tech level develops depending on their power level, as far as I can tell, and the number of stations they have. If you read each station description, which I should be able to do here. Reputation, power, technology, peaceful. Sorry, no. There should be... Yeah, here. See? Status, peaceful, owner, recipe, technology, 13, tech gain, +1 per week, power, 36, power gain, population. Each corporation spends on missions, and depending on how those missions, like, if you don't participate in this mission, it will resolve based upon power concentrations. Like, you see how Sunlight Coven has an espionage power concentration of 2500. That's the opposing side. If you go in for Sunlight Coven, you will be opposed by 2500 Uncom. And Uncom has an infiltration power concentration of 1100. If you go in for Uncom, you will be opposed by 1100 Sunlight Coven. So this is a mission that Uncom will win. And they will get some benefits from winning that mission. And depending upon the type of mission, they'll get different benefits. Like, infiltration missions are defense missions, and they will reduce the power of the attacker if they win. And if the attacker attacks with an espionage mission, that's still tech mission. They will reduce the tech of Uncom, and Sunlight Coven will get more tech. And every mission in the map, even the ones you are not doing, like, see all of these missions, all of these missions will resolve. Even if the missions you spam, god damn it, pronunciation. Even the missions you spawn with monitoring analytics center, they too will resolve and impact the final results of how the corps develop. And how much power they have to spare for missions is directly relevant and related to how much power they have in this ranking. And that is the thing you can most influence with your missions. Every time you do a mission, you are likely to move power ratings, either adding power to one corp, reducing one corpse power, or doing both at the same time, raising one corpse power while reducing the power of another corp. And then they will take that power and they will invest it in missions all around the system that will advance their tech, the number of positions they have, and all of that. And that is how corporations gain or lose tech, based upon which stations they have and how missions they are doing and missions against them resolve. That is how tech advances. So corporations, you can read tech progress, it's 63%, 9 a week. Each side has their own tech progress, and you can see how well they are doing and choose who you want to favor and who you want to suppress. So if you want to keep the corps balanced, you probably want to favor the people who are doing poorly in terms of tech and suppress the people who are racing ahead, like Ancom, for example. So you check these tech levels and you probably work against the people who have high tech to slow them down so they don't run away with the game. Or you work against people who have a lot of power, because they're likely to start advancing their tech faster, because they'll probably win more of the missions. And you can see all the missions they're doing here. And then, like, this is a bunch of espionage missions, so if they succeed in these missions, they'll probably advance their tech a lot. So yeah, that's how you can tell how tech advances. So the biggest difference doing missions does to how company tech level develops is by giving or taking away power from a corp, which allows them to better defend and attack. Last but not least, which faction actually do the best rewards? Like, who's got the best weapons, backpacks, and armor, stuff like that. So, best weapons, backpacks, and armor depend upon playstyle, allies, and enemies. Because here's the thing. Playstyle dictates whether you want to carry light, medium, or heavy armor. So, different factions will have the best light, medium, and heavy armor. So, if I remember right, where was it? SBN. Was it SBN? I think it was SBN. They had this... Or was it Ancom? Yeah, this is Ancom Black armor. It's only techtree armor, but it is exceptionally good resistance armor. Like, it's bad cutting armor and piercing armor and blunt armor, but has exceptional resistances against poison and fire and everything else. And the same, I think, goes for this, except better. This is just like heavy. This is medium armor. This is heavy armor with better stats, but again, exceptional resistances. While SBN, on the other hand, gets Dawnbringer armor, which is weak to one specific type of stuff. Like, generally, every armor combination has trade-offs. They will be weak to one kind of regular damage, which means either blunt, piercing, or cutting, and they will be weak to two types of energy damage. And that's what every type of heavy armor will be like. And so it really depends. If you want, like, medium armor will be somewhat weaker, while heavy armors will be somewhat stronger. And they will have their weaknesses. And if you're going against an enemy, you should know what their weaknesses are once they start deploying heavier armors, and bring them with you so that you can bypass their armor, or do what I do and always bring an assault rifle with armor piercing and use a class that has armor piercing, so that when enemies in heavy armor show up, you can just shoot them anyway. That's the other option if you don't want to bother with having, like, tailored builds for going against every type of enemy. Because it feels terrible in the late game if you run across an enemy that has armor that's really effective against the weapons you're using. That just feels bad. It feels great when you're the one doing it, when your armor is the one that lets you soak a whole bunch of fire. Not that I recommend doing so, but being able to do so is great, but still. You either need to carry weapons that are effective against the armor the enemy is using, which you will know from here once you have, like, a bit of experience and you have that armor. Like, what I like to do instead of remembering all of this is keep a sample of each one of their armors at the top at one of these. Where were they? Like here or here. I'll take this massive group of armors and keep some of them among here, so I can keep a single piece of every armor set, so I can just gloss over them, compare them to what's on the actual like tech, and go, oh, okay, you're weak to this, and then I'll equip either a shotgun with cutting, or an SMG with blunt, or a assault rifle with piercing, and go with like appropriate gear to deal with them. Because I cannot be bothered to make an Excel file or notes or whatever to remember it all. I'll just keep an example in my backpack, compare, and figure out what I need, if I don't want to just bring an assault rifle and penetration to deal with it. Armor pen. Yeah. But armor pen is how I mostly deal with heavy armor. So that was less than 1,000 questions, but several. Anything else? Oh, why you miss with over 100% accuracy? Okay, when you have 100% accuracy, all kinds of bonuses can affect it. Like if you're wounded, if you have a head wound, that's minus 20% accuracy. If you have arm wounds, that's minus 10. If you're running, that's also minus something. But also weapons have scatter degree. And if your scatter degree dictates that your bullet is not going into the square the enemy is in, it doesn't matter how much accuracy you have. So like stuff like shotguns and SMGs can just miss randomly. And the other thing is that even if you have 100% accuracy, the enemies have their own dodge rating, so they can just dodge your bullets. And the second thing is, if you're firing more than one bullet, I'm pretty sure that with 100% accuracy you're only guaranteed to hit the first one. The other ones have some kind of like percentage or something. My experience is that you want to have, like, I suspect that your accuracy and our accuracy and their accuracy is modified by the dodge chance, that there aren't two independent rolls, like first you roll to hit and then they roll to dodge, or vice versa, but that accuracy hit chance is affected by being reduced by dodge chance, and then that's the roll we make. Because my experience is that once you get to like 140, 160 accuracy, you will start nailing every shot that doesn't scatter. Like only shots that scatter to a different square will start missing. At 140, 160 accuracy, you stop missing at all. It's like firing auto-aim lasers all the time. Resources for a new player. Well, this. It's not a great resource, but it is one. What is the secret to this game? Tips and tricks. Taste of Revenge 9, comically difficult. Well, we've covered it. Don't open doors without LP, don't go around corners with LP, all that. Favorite weapons? Favorite weapons are weapons that take easy to modding. So like, here. This is a course Vodka. It is a level 6 mod, and only now, when modifying for the 7th time, is it starting to demand chips, and it's only asking basic chips. Like, I can mod this all the way up to 14 with just 9 basic chips. And this is like expendables, we get plenty of these. 9 basic chips, and I can turn a very basic course Vodka in a 42 to 50 damage per bullet shot SMG. From 14 to 22. That's triple. That's a lot. So basically I favor guns that are fairly basic and can be upgraded a lot for cheap resources. Because as it turns out, while advanced weapons are really nice to have and can be really powerful and have great ranges and all that, modifying them to be better costs an arm and a leg. Like, you will ever, in like 100 hours of playing this game, modify one energy weapon, or one ultrasonic weapon, or one of those like more advanced weapons, because Those weapons, instead of having springs and gunsmiths and basic item chips and common item chips, they start with basic item chips, common item chips, and then you get advanced and like luxury items or whatever the fourth category is. And so when you need 20 basic item chips to modify something up to 10, you're probably not doing it. So I prefer weapons that are cheap to modify. It's one of the reasons why I haven't, like the Rogue AR, it's a decent rifle, but it used to be cheaper to modify. Here, you can only modify it twice before it starts eating chips. So I'm holding off to see if I can find a better shotgun or a better rifle to do it with, one that won't start eating chips right away. So that's favorite weapon, and while we're at it, why not, let's cover armor. Thing about armor that you're looking for is the same with weapons. You want armor that is cheap to modify. 2 resources that aren't chips, and then only chips on the left. And then you can do a lot of mods before you start spending chips. Like this is 6 mods before you start spending chips. This is blunt and cut resistant, and I can add it 12 pierce resist to this piece. So now it has good resistances against blunt, pierce, and cut, which makes this a perfectly fine basic armor. That also gives cold and poison resist on top of everything else. And I can make these infinitely, and I will, with 4 pieces of armor like this, have what? Yeah. 40 of everything. 40 of everything with a scale of head is hardness giving 30% extra resistance means that you are above 75% resistance to all basic damages. They shoot you for 20, you take 5. That isn't even a wound, that's a scratch. So yeah, getting basic armor like this, but preferably slightly better, because if I remember right, this thing to have a bit low values. We want something a bit better that still only consumes basic resources and has basic chip at 3 and common chip at 4. We want something a bit better than this. Not necessarily heavy armor, but a bit better than this. And then you upgrade it, and then you have a set of armor that you regularly use. Like this has 36 resistance and 47 resistance, and this has 32. So Corpseman isn't as good as the medical stuff. The medical stuff is the best I have right now, but I'm as of yet holding off on upgrading it. Though really I should upgrade the Pirogov. I really should. Just so that I can make my own chest pieces and know that I have basic resistances covered. I'll be doing that once we start playing. Now, where was I? What does your early game progression look like? Upgrading the ship, clearing out this proof, and yet I can't get my hands on upgrade mats more often than not. I've got 1-2 on my ship at best. Trading. You need to trade. You need to trade, and you need to focus on acquiring and upgrading before everything else. You need the shuttle. Shuttle comes first. Shuttle and scanner always come first. Because the shuttle lets you bring a hell of a lot more stuff back from the missions, and the scanner lets you avoid all kinds of trouble. Like when I was upgrading, I forget. What did I get first? I think I started, yeah, research is only recent. Research I only got like 2 sessions ago. I got Capsule, and then I pretty much beelined it for Shuttle. And got Shuttle 1 and 2 right away, and Shuttle 3 like 2 missions later. And things opened up a lot after that. Everything else is a lot less meaningful than getting your Shuttle and Capsule going. After that you want scanners, and after that you want, well, the rest. Mods, production, research, all of that. Trade will also let you send trading missions far away to get resource if you're missing something like Geoscanners or Quasimorph sensors. Those are the 2 you usually have trouble compiling. And you can send a trade module. I cover it in one of those things. Find a place that trades only in what you need, or 1 or 2 like it. that accepts a trade good that no other station on that planet accepts, and then you can send a trade loaded down with just that for trade, so you can ensure they trade with only that station and bring you back only what you need. And that's how you, once you get trade, it'll be easier to reach across the system and get what you want. But the shuttle is the big thing, because once you have the shuttle, you can bring a hell of a lot more loot back. Duct and backpacks. And on the topic of backpacks, where are they? Yeah, these are bags, duffel bags. They give you 3 rows of inventory size. They can be carried along with any other type of backpack, including the starting tourist backpacks. You can it just occupies 1 slot. And then when you're ready to leave, you put on the duffel bag and come back with 3 rows. In the early game, this stuff helps a lot. And you can make it on any workshop in any mission that has a work table out of 4 rags. And rags are the most abundant resource you can get by disassembling stuff. So basically, you disassemble some clothes, go to the workshop, work table, and make a bunch of bags and bring them back, and these are your early game come back with stuff button. Because the difference between coming back with 2 rows or coming back with 3 rows when you need to bring medicine and food and everything else in the first row is massive. Like, it's what? You go from how much? We go from 12 slot to 18 slots, and let's say 3 slots are occupied with ammo and medicine and food. So you go from 9 slots to 15 slots of stuff that you can bring back by just carrying a bag with you onto the mission and then putting it on when you're going back. Yeah. That and different upgrade mats can be found in different locations. So like, see how this says shooting range, business center, space prison, drugs kitchen. If you go around the map, like Mars is probably where you're at because you're in the early game and you don't want to deal with Quasimorphs. This is Orbital City, so that's a decent place for chips. This is Field Camp, that's weapons. This is Business Center, prototypes, chips, the other rare, what thing it is? What's it called? It's in 4. These things, specialist roles, magazines, trombone. Basically, if you're looking for a certain type of material, you need to be hitting maps that have it. If you need industrial equipment, hit mining and production sites. So like on Phobos, this is a service station, this is a colony, there you go, this is a mining base. So I found multiple construction equipments, welders and drills in the mining base, if that's the stuff you need. Orbital ports will just look at what it needs, what it produces, and you can intuit from it what you can find on that station. And if you need resources, you go through the stuff and you decide what it buys and what it sells. That's probably what you can find on the station, plus whatever is common sense for the type of station. So industrial stations will have industrial stuff, medical and drug stations will have medical stuff like that. And if you have the resources, because again, running Quasimorph missions in the early game is an elaborate form of suicide and struggle. You want to stay on Mars and Earth where you don't have to deal with Quasimorphs. Like, you do not want to deal with Quasimorphs in the early game, but if you have to, the way you deal with Quasimorphs is by bringing lots of vodka or other kinds of drinks. Like, where is it? This, Bay 12, or because you can cure them with sorbents, which can be found in the game, or if you have production unlocked, produced for free. And you can also do against Quasimorphs. Where is healing? right? You can use morphine and naxoline. Or the med stations in the game can be also used to cure addiction. And if you're going against a low power mission with only a floor or two, you won't need more than one stack of these to get through it, to keep the Quasimorphs down and clear the whole level. So that's how you get through the early game if you need to go away to a place that does has Quasimorph and you're not mid-game and already like ready to take them on. Action damage types. Yeah, this is what I said. Just keep some of their weapons and armor as examples, and you can just look through them, look through their tech, and then look through your inventory to check before a mission. Bartering isn't in the game as far as I can tell. I've tried and it doesn't seem to work. You get credit, but you don't seem to, like, I don't know if it's bugged or what, but in the current version it doesn't seem to be working. At least I've never been able to make it work. Might be that I never offered enough barter, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Instead, what happened with me is that I got full-on trade unlocked a lot further. Like, you could give them credit, but you could also click the other screen and go straight to trading, buying only what you want instead of getting random barter. Which is better than random barter in my opinion, but what do I know? How do I treat burn effect? This is one of those things covered in the basics and covered fairly early on in the first session of the second campaign. Basically, if you take a look at your inventory and you take a look at your medicines, see how there's, well, first thing it says stabilizes wound right down there, it's 5 turns. That is your grace period. Basically, every type of healing stuff stabilizes a wound. But that doesn't cure it, that just pauses it from getting worse. And then it assigns a heal chance that's right below it. So you see how it says heal chance percentage below stabilizes the wound, and then there are all these icons? Those are the type of heal chances that specific cure provides. So like medical glue doesn't heal hammers, which are blunt damage. It has 40% piercing, so that's deep wounds, that's piercing. 40% cutting, that's the third icon. The fourth icon is flame, so it's a 70% chance to treat burns. 0% chance to turn frost or ice frostbite, yeah. It heals 60% chance poison, 17% chance electrical burns, and 0% chance radiation beam damage injuries. So when you hover in a mission, press H and hover over your injury, you can see it says with an icon what type of injury it is. So you go through and you look through your healing stuff, which will show up on the right for some of them, like medkits don't show up, but they will. They have a heal any wound 50% chance, and Dr. Jones has heal any wound 100% chance. But these are like advanced medicines. Basic medicines are bandages, which heal piercing and cutting damage and frostbite, and splints, which heal blunt damage. And if you don't have splints or bandages, rags are worse than bandages but heal the same wound types and have an infection chance. So you can just strip anybody, tear apart their clothes for rags, and do the same for plastics, which have a heal to chance blunt. And as long as you have production and sorbents from productions, you can treat infection. So as long as you actually have enemies that you took down, you can strip them from rags and plastics and heal the basic 3 wound types, even if you don't have a work table to then take, because bandages are 2 rags and splints are a rag and plastic plus a work table. So you can produce them both in your production once you have it in the early game, or in any mission, like once you have the, what's it called, the shuttle. If you're terminally low on healing resources, you can just stack up 1 stack of 20 rags and 1 stack of 20, what's it called, plastics, and the moment, like, many maps will have a work table right by the shuttle, and you can literally just take it up and turn 20 rags into 10 bandages, or turn 20 rags and 20 plastics into 20 splints, and just bring them back, and now you have bandages and splints. I did that in the early game. Though I didn't bring the rags and plastics, I just took them from the Fallen on that mission and just brought back the bandages and splints when I didn't have production running yet. So yeah, if you want to train burn effect, you need... Well, medical clue is one of the options. Hydrogel bandage is the easier one. Bandages and splints are basic production. This is 2 rag, this is rag and plastic. Hydrogel bandages are a bottle of water and a bandage, and you can find water bottles in many maps, and you can find a lot of them. So, personally, I haven't needed to use these yet, because like only later game do enemies start showing up with elemental weapons. But that is how you treat both fire, poison, shock, and energy. And as you can see, this thing treats cold. So basically, between bandages, splints, and hydrogel bandages, you have all the damage types covered. You have a healing chance for anything. You just have to bring supplies on the shuttle with you to heal them. The only thing they can't heal, those 3 together, is amputations, which is why I always bring 1 Dr. Jones down on the shuttle with me. If some random disc or bullet takes a hand off instead of bleeding out, this will cure amputations. I don't know if even, like, the first aid kit might have also a chance to heal amputations, but this will definitely heal an amputation. That's a lot of talking. Best loadout link. That depends on who you're facing. Mission somehow possible. Yeah, all missions are possible. If nothing else, you can always grab molotovs and fire inferno grenades and just throw a couple into a swarm and they'll all burn to death. Except some Quasimorphs and heavy armored guys in the late game that are really like resistance, but for the most part, fire solves most problems. Items level +1 rank. I am not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that items have ranks on the back end. Like rags, bandages, medkits, Dr. Jones. Those are 4 different ranks. Same way it's like sorbents, antibiotics, and then like there's a 3rd one I think that cures all infection or something. So in the same sense, rifles, shotguns, weapons, items, they all have ranks. Like there is a difference between, where were they? Where's the electronic stuff? Like between stuff like this fire and this Bane Midgame or the Switchboard. Switchboard is higher rank than stuff like wires or transistors and stuff like that. Like transformers. Transformers are less advanced than switchboards. How do we know that? Because when you disassemble switchboards, you get transformers. Same thing goes for data miners. So if one thing can be disassembled into others, the things it can be disassembled into are a lower tier than it. And vice versa. The things that make up a more advanced things, that's tier up. Or at least that's my impression. What's the difficulty rating actually based on? The difficulty rating is mostly based on the opposing power. Mostly based on opposing power, but that's what the difficulty rating is actually based on. But the difficulty rating doesn't accurately reflect the difficulty of the mission. And I know that sounds weird, but that's how it works. Because the thing is, when spawning enemies, when the game decides who actually gets to play, it looks at a faction and it looks at their gear and armor and their tech level. If they have unlocked dangerous techs, and I don't mean like generally dangerous, I mean dangerous to whatever loadout and playstyle you are using, then that difficulty goes way up. In my case, those are discs and amputations. I despise disc throwers and amputations because they can one-hit kill you. And the thing about those things is that they are available from the start for two of these guys. They are available from the start for civil, right? Here we go, civil resistance. Has disc throwers at tech level 2, and Tianming has them at level 1, sawblade throwers. Amputates when injures. See that? That's nasty. That means that if you step around the corner or they step around the corner and just shoot you, you are immediately doomed all throughout the early game if there isn't like a medical station that can cure any wounds nearby. Because you will not have a Dr. Jones and you may not even have a medkit. So how do you stop bleeding from amputating? You don't, you die. Eventually. Like you can clear a level or two maybe, but you probably just die. So yeah. What makes difficulty of a mission is the amount of power that's against you, which dictates the amount and quality of the enemies. And the second thing is their tech level and equipment of that faction, which dictates the actual quality of the enemies, which is what they have to shoot you with and how aggressive they will be. Because different factions have different like models of behavior. Some of them will actually take cover and just wait for you to come out, while a lot of others will rush you. And rush you at different speeds, because factions with melee troops and factions with special melee troops like Psychos can move 4, or dogs. SBN has dogs in this version, which also move 4 and attack in melee. So the difficulty of missions depends upon the power opposing you and their tech level and equipment. That's what decides how difficult the mission is. That and how you play. How that all stacks up against your favorite playstyle and equipment. Weapon ammo. How do you know what weapons take what ammo? Let me check. Because I just know from the first campaign, but let me check. This is energy ammunition. This is fuel. This is super heavy ammunition. This is 42 bullets. This is 797. This is slugs 12 gauge. And this is buckshot 12 gauge. This is 9mm. This is 9mm. So when we look at weapons, it says 797 bullets. It says 797 bullets. It says buckshot 12 gauge. It says 42 bullets. So those are these, number 42 bullets. So your weapon takes the kind of ammo that it says it takes under the ammo setting. See how it has condition, piercing, crit damage, range, accuracy, crit chance, scatter, effective range, reload duration, and then bullets, 7.97. You take that, you compare it to the bullet types, and there it is, 7.97. And with a bit of experience at the game, you'll just know, because there are 4-5 bullet types. The rest is like special stuff, but mostly you've got your 12 gauge, which is shotgun shells, which are like buckshot, slugs, and incendiary, I think. You've got your bullets, which come, rifle bullets, which are 7.97. They come in this form, and they come in armor piercing form, I think. Or poison. One or both of those two. You've got your .42, which I'm not even sure they have other versions. I think they do, but I didn't use them much in the other campaign. And you've got your energy ammunition, which comes in 2 forms, which is three main forms, which is the battery, the makeshift battery, and the Dileti battery, which is something you can only get from their missions, either against them or for them. And which looks like, where are you, Dileti? Dilti. Which looks like this. Dilti battery. Again, energy ammunition. Says so right on the Please. And each of them have mods. So like Gladly Battery is crit chance mod 20, accuracy mod 10, scatter mod minus 10, but damage mod minus 10. While something like Shotgun is pretty telling. Something like shotgun ammo is for slugs is +1 range, minus 10 damage, and more crit, but plus 20 scatter. So you're more likely to miss with slugs, because you only have 1 bullet and plus 20 scatter, but you also have +1 range. While buckshot has plus 30 accuracy, so it's probably hitting, and it has 5 shots, so it's definitely hitting, but it has -1 range and plus 100 scatter, which means that at any distance, at least some of those shots are going to scatter. So you're going to hit at least some, but some of them will miss. But the stuff that is on target will almost certainly hit with plus 30 accuracy. It's just that you're -1 range. And shotguns are notoriously short range anyway, so you usually end up with just 3 or 4 range. If you're using these, which goes to 5 or 6 range with slugs, but with more scatter and less accuracy. So yeah, that's ammo. And weapon types. Weapon types are written on them themselves. It says up there. See how it has a name? It has bishop and has sniper rifle. Sniper rifles is a weapon type, assault rifles are weapon types, and all rifles use rifle ammo, which is this. 797 bullets. The same way that all SMGs that aren't like energy SMGs, this is a laser SMG. These are other submachine guns, submachine guns, submachine guns, or submachine guns use .42 bullets, which are these kinds of bullets, 9mm. No, wait, I'm lying. I lied. Some rare submachine guns use .42 bullets. Most submachine guns use 9mm bullets. But yeah, there are some that use 42 and they're generally better, stronger than the 9mm, but also much rarer and harder to find ammo with, though later you can make as much ammo as you want. So that doesn't make as much difference. And the thing with these submachine guns with .42 bullets is, as you can see, it has a collimator and a silencer. So that thing is quiet and deadly. They're just generally better. But they have less bullets. They run out of ammo faster. Comparatively. So shotguns do shells, 12 gauge. SMGs do 9mm and occasionally 42. And rifles and sniper rifles do the rifle bullets, which are these 7.97. And energy stuff uses batteries. I call these rifles. Like, the rifles can also use the 42 bullets, but those rifles are again rarer than the ones that use the other kind. Generally, I use very little 42 bullets. They're sort of odd middle children between the 9mm and the more powerful, what's it called, 797, because rifles with this tend to have armor piercing and rifles and snipers, while the SMGs and rifles with this tend to be quieter and more accurate. More augments, haven't gotten to that. It's never enough medkits, medicines. Everything get hit causes a wound and needs special treatment. Got 5 bandages, just fractured your leg. Your chance to heal. The thing about healing is that once you get production up and running, all you really need is what is it called? Yeah, sorbents. Because sorbents prevent infection, and you can treat an infinite number of cuts, bludgeons, and piercing deep wounds with all the rags and plastic that your dead enemies will drop. You can basically treat an infinite number of wounds so long as you have sorbents to treat the infections that will eventually result from trying to treat them that way. So yeah, like bandages and using bandages and I lost the word. What are they called? Right, splints. Using bandages and splits is what you do for like premier injuries, when you only get shot once or twice in a map. Once you start getting regular shot, you're probably using rags and plastic and relying on sorbents to deal with infections. But I generally bring two bandages into what's they're called, splints, and one medkit into every mission, and I rarely need to use the medkit. That tends to cover me for most like early and mid-game missions. Basically, if you're getting shot a lot, you're choosing to run a playstyle where you get shot a lot. That is a choice. You don't have to get shot a lot. I have multiple missions where I don't get shot even once. Confusion between heal, stabilize, wound. I already explained this. This is the thing where every medicine has a stabilize wound which pauses the wound from getting worse, and the actual heal chance resolves only after however many turns it takes to actually resolve the stabilization. So like in 5 turns, this rolls the heal chance, and if you treated a piercing wound or a cutting wound, it has 80% chance to heal, but if you treated a bludgeoning wound, a fracture, it has 0 chance to heal. You need plastic or splints for that. So yeah, heal, stabilize, wound is that. Every medicine stabilizes a wound, and then when the wound is done stabilizing, it rolls for healing, and its odds to heal depend on what kind of medicine you used. But yeah, here, you even when you're asking the question, you're hovering over rubber and it says like it has heal, pierce, burns, deep burns, frostbite, electrical, chemical burns. So yeah, rubber is the third like tier 0 healing instrument. You don't even need the wet bandages or whatever they're called, hydrogel bandages. You can just use the rubber, right? Yeah, there you go. Stabilizes all kinds of wounds except like radiation. Covers fire, frost, poison, and electricity. So if it doesn't heal from rags or plastic, rubber will probably heal it. Early mine class chips farming. Early mine class chips farming is well, the most reliable way to do it is actually rewards in the very, very early game. So like you find, like Civil Resistance, when you take a look at their technology, there are no chips here. So if you're looking for chips, you don't do jobs for them. You take a look who has chips and you go, oh, mine chips. I can get chips from this guy. And with good attitude, I can get common chips from this guy. But in the very early game, you want to find somebody like... He has 4% class chips. These guys have 4% mine chips. You have 12% regular chips and these chips. 12% basic chips, sure. Yeah, somebody likes the Sunlight Coven. They offer 12%, 6% mine chips, 6% class chips. And they do it on the first level. So anytime you do a job for them and they roll rewards, you have a chance to get mine and class chips. Every single time, like if they... See how the reward for this is like 3,000? Each one of these items has its own price, like 100, 75, 450, 350, 5, 60, and 100. Except this isn't 5, it comes in a stack of 50, so it's 250. But the point is, if you get 3,100 reward, it will take a look at your reward pool and roll on it. And if your reward pool has chips and other stuff that's cheap, you are more likely to hit chips when you have a big reward coming from somebody, because it will need to hit chips to exhaust that reward, because probability says it probably won't fall like 20 times on something like guns and give you 20 guns. It will probably give you a spread of all these, so you'll get some chips as well. Sunlight Coven is good at that, Anybody with a 12% chance for basic chips is also good at that. This guy has 7 and 3 here. Ability has 5 and only 2 here, so they aren't so great. These guys have 16. Planet Bridge has 16 on basic chips. 7 and 3. So like, just take a look at what your odds are. 20% mine chips. Take a look at what type. This is 16% mine chip. Which type of chip you're looking for, and do jobs for those kinds of people, and you'll get those chips. That said, I'm pretty sure classes or mine chips or whatever, that each faction has their favorite, like mine chips or classes or whatever. So if you do it too much for one side, you'll start getting a lot of duplicates and not get all the chips. You'll need to switch who you're working with for a little bit to fill out the rest. So that's chips. NPC opened the door. I was standing behind and shot me with his flash and the shitty laser pistol. That ignited me on the tile I was standing on. Because I got damaged, I only have one action for the next turn, which I used to blast this. Next turn I'm dead. Lowest laser pistol. I do get triggered twice per turn for hazardous fire. What could I have done better when... this happened to me in one of my games. I got shot and set on fire. Basically, you need to have a water bottle. You need to trigger into running mode immediately, because the flames... Well, in past not models, versions, you could put out the fire by running around quickly. Sort of emulating stop, drop, and roll. But in this version, when you hover over water bottles, it says that they extinguish flame. So if you know you're going up against opponents who have energy weapons, you can keep a water bottle on you. And you can especially keep a water bottle in your backpack so you can quick draw it. And the moment you catch fire, you switch over to 3 AP, so that even if you're losing one, you get 2, and you put yourself out and you take cover. That's how you deal with flame. That and flame resist, to reduce the amount of damage you're taking when you get shot. But mostly you deal with it by not getting shot. If you do get shot, having water on you, immediately switching to running so you get at least 2 AP per turn, and being able to put yourself out is what matters most. Like, if you're walking around fighting enemies with energy weapons, you need to have a water bottle on you. That's just how it works. Otherwise the fire will likely kill you, if somebody does shoot you. Where were we? That and armor. Oh, I shouldn't have clicked that. Okay, never mind. We managed to go back. Farming Geoscanners. Tips. Yeah, sure. I just showed them off. There is one of these guys, Church of Revelation. Yeah, they give you Geoscanners. So if you want to get Geoscanners, do jobs for them. Do jobs for them, do jobs against them, do jobs in mining stations, which can contain Geoscanners, or just trade. Like, there are literally... I looked this up previously. Tsoikovsky, I think. Moonfuller, Phobos. Was it Phobos? I think it was Phobos. Phobos and Werner. You can't see them because of these missions, but Phobos and Werner both have locations that produce... I think. Or was it Mercury? I don't know if that's... It's all missioned out, so we can't see right now. But yeah, like here. Norman Air Council Laboratory. It produces Geoscanners, Quasimorph sensors, and toxic stuff. And so if you have a trade module, or if you're visiting, and you have this stuff, or good relations with the faction, you can just buy them here. Or send a trade module to fetch them. And there are a couple of places that produce Geoscanners. I think there's one in the Jupiter Belt? Yeah, you just need to look through locations and find places that produce what you need. And trade with them. That, or do mining missions, or do missions for people who have them as a reward. Which is The church, I think. The mining people, maybe? Forward. Nope, not in the first couple of levels. Grasshopper also not. Yeah, church. Church has scanners. Geoscanners. Not great odds you'll get them, but they have them. Keep doing missions for them and you'll get a couple. How long does it take for traders to restock? My experience is usually a week. But sometimes all it really takes is a reload. Like coming in and out of the game, I don't know if it's in time in between, but pretty much every time I've reloaded, the traders have restocked. So you can cheese it that way, I suppose. Oh, on that... What's our travel time to Mars? Yeah, it's 19 days, but no, the planets are still in the same positioning. I think they didn't reset. That's nice. Switchboards. But even with thousands, I get random garbage back. How the heck do you get switchboards? I don't know, man. Just when you're on a map, look for... What's it called? There's this specific form of loot box, which is an electronics loot box. They're usually found near those scanner rooms that have those computers that let you scan the map. Or in certain kinds of rooms or many different maps, you have these like server stacks. And they usually give electronic stuff, and I've found a whole bunch of switchboards in them. Like, where are those switchboards? I've had past them previously. Yeah, here. 5, 10, 21 switchboards. And I've already upgraded everything that needs them. So yeah, that's the standing stack of electronics next to computers and in research rooms. That's what gives you switchboards. That drops switchboards reliably. Excuse me, needed to blow my nose. Now where were we? The one time an escort mission is going well. Yeah, no, don't do escort missions. Just don't. When your enemy has low opposition, escort missions can be done, but until this game lets me heal my allies, I am not doing escort missions. And the previous version did not let me, there was no way to heal your ally. So as long as your escort target gets wounded, they just bleed out. And just, no. I'm not doing escort missions until I can heal my target. It's just, it's dumb. It's silly. Oh hey, somebody has a late game faction melee ranged armor spreadsheet analysis. That sure will be useful to someone else. I cannot be bothered. Weapon upgrade projects. How weapon work in patch 9.5. Once you start upgrading a weapon or armor occupying a project slot, is the slot permanently tied to that item type? No. You free up an item upgrade slot by doing the following. You go into your project, and you take down and undo what you did with it previously. So that this is 0 of 20, you click start development, and when it's done it will clear your project fee. Once this goes down to 0, you clear up the project slot. You just need to undo the advances that you made. That is how you clear project slots for both armor and weapons. There is no tutorial on this. Nothing tells you can do this or how to do it, but that is how it works. I have done it in a previous patch and I see no reason why they would have changed it. You can literally just undo the 6 here. Undo what you did back to 0 and it will disappear. And you'll free up the slot. Same goes with armor. What is the secret to this game? We've covered this. Doors, AP, cover, going back, pulling and all that. I think when I clicked on something and went back, it scrolled me up because we are way the back here. Unfair difficulty early game. I didn't play unfair difficulty mostly because it gave AP to enemies. In the start, in session 1, when I set up difficulty, I took a custom difficulty, which was most alike to the difficulty that I played campaign 1. I don't... If you give your enemies extra AP, the game gets weird. Like, you'll need to listen a lot more if all your enemies have at least 2 AP. Because that means that any enemy can open a door and then shoot you. Or walk around the corner and then shoot you, instead of just walking around the corner. So yeah. The whole tunnel rats thing, I already said. I understand why people like them for the loot drops and everything, but I found that it's faster to go through low power levels with a lot of floors if you're hunting chips. It's a lot faster to just go through multiple libraries. You'll find a hell of a lot more chips that way. Low power, lots of floor with against a faction that already has the tech for the chips. That will yield plenty of chips. That's how I do it. I've tried, like, I haven't tried the tunnel runs in 9.5, but I tried them before, and the spawn rates for, and judging by what I've been recovering from all the like fallen in regular missions, yeah, the spawn rates for bodies for chips are terrible. Like I've had like 45 hours of play and I found 1 chip on a body. Mind you, some of that might have to do with me throwing molotovs when they swarm and fire burns chips, so it might have burned some, but I don't know. I wouldn't count on it. I'd hunt libraries. Seems a hell of a lot more reliable to me. Oh, that and trade. Because as it turns out, multiple factions, once you get good with them, will offer to trade you chips. The way I did, I don't remember which session number, but I bought multiple class chips and mine chips from one of the factions. I think it was the Sunlight people. So you can also buy chips from people in trades once they like you enough. They will occasionally offer you to just trade you chips for like the price that they cost. How do you heal chest irradiation? Didn't we cover this? You heal chest irradiation with... yeah, hydrogel bandages. Chest irradiation is the only thing that doesn't get healing from bandages, splints, or... what's it called? Rubber. But I suppose... let me just check. Is there a basic resource that heals chest irradiation? Not rubber, not rusty metal, nope. Plus, no. None of this stuff. No, seems like no. Seems like you need hydrogel bandages for chest irradiation. Yeah, rubber will let you treat everything else, but you need hydrogel bandages for chest irradiation. Actually, no. You need vodka. There you go, radiation sickness minus 20%. Vodka heals radiation. It won't heal the actual wound, but it will heal the radiation sickness. And then regeneration will heal the rest of the wound. If you lower your radiation sickness to 0, and regenerate to 100%, your radiation wound will disappear. That's how you heal radiation. And sorbents? No, that just does infection and poisoning. And that cures the alcoholism you get from treating your radiation. But yeah. Liquor, spirits and vodka. That's how you treat radiation in the early game. When you don't have access to something stronger. Not the best answer, because you can't really strip it from enemies, but you can find it on enemies, so... Fibromin will also has a small chance to heal radiation. Antibiotics. And first aid kits, always. They heal any kind of wound, so carrying a first aid kit will let you heal radiation. Tried to trade but didn't receive anything in exchange. Value of the triangle in the bottom right corner increased, but what is that thing? That is the thing you use to trade. So when trading... Can I demonstrate? No, not here. If I was a Mars, I could... When you land on a trade and the screen opens, there is, if you have positive relations with them, like if the... Let me check Mars. Here we go. You see how this is green? And this is green? The moment it turns green, and it turns green at relations plus 20 or something like that, and even sometimes before it at plus 10, I think, you can start trading with factions. Basically, you go from the screen where you're selling things to them for bartering to the other screen where you can see what they have to offer you and the prices for it. And each of the items will have like a little arrow beside it, and you can buy it. And you buy them for those little triangle points, which are actually... Those little triangle points are the same points here, where you have trade volume that's available. That's basically how much credit you have with them. And on any station, you can exchange that. You get this trade volume from missions. That's the unrealized, like the rewards will reduce depending on this reward. Like it's this thing, that's the triangle. It says 3,100. The rewards from the mission will roll X number of times, several times. And then the remainder will get added to your credit. And you can spend it on any of their stations. Once they are green, or you have like plus 10 relation or something like that. No, actually trade volume is above. The triangle is credit. I have 5,000 trade volume and 233 credit. And here we have 41 credit. We have 2.8k trade volume. I need help with finding the EMP Scorcher. That sounds like a story mission thing. That was 3 months ago. However you were stuck, you were probably done now. After story, Venus story mission, yeah, not commenting on that. Survive against sawblades, yeah. I get so many amputation. Dealing with sawblades is... Well, there are 2 reliable ways to deal with sawblades. The first is running. With 3 AP points, you go around the corner, you shoot them, you go back around the corner so they can shoot you. And that's how you deal with sawblade. That's one of the ways of dealing with sawblades. Pop out, shoot, pop back in, so you can shoot them, they can shoot you, they die, you live, you're fine. That's any character can use that way to deal with them. The more reliable way of dealing with sawblade characters is that you go into a mission where you know you will be facing either Tianming and their sawblade, or Civil Resistance and their sawblades. You go into that mission with Victoria Boudica and her +2 weapon range. Because guess what? Sawblades. I don't think I have any on me. Except maybe here, yeah. Sawblades have an effective range of 5. And the other model I think also has an effective range, something like that. Tianming? Yeah, effective range of 5. So when you get +2 range on all your guns, suddenly your rifles have a range of 7 or 8. Your SMGs have a range of 6 or 7, and your shotguns, when you load them with slugs, also have a range of 7 or 8. So you outrange them, you put them in a corridor or a hole or a door or a large room, you take cover and you shoot them from beyond range to respawn. That's how you deal with discs. That is the only fully reliable way of dealing with discs. Like going around corners is mostly reliable, but you always risk them doing it to you if one of them comes around that has like 2 or 3 AP and can run and gun. That happens. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. Them stepping around the corner and just shooting you. So the only truly reliable and safe way of doing it is that you have a weapon, a sniper rifle, or plus range from your guy, or whatever, that outranges them, and you get them into a long shooting gallery and you shoot them beyond the range. Because then, even if he has 3 movement points, if you have 9 range and they have 5, they go 9, 8, 7, and then they get shot. That's how you deal with discs. That is the most reliable way of dealing with discs. The other one is throwing fire grenades or molotovs and just starting a fire and running away and waiting until they all burn to desk. That also works. It doesn't work on a wilder scale, but if you're only dealing with a couple of disc throwers, that will also solve a problem. It doesn't even need to be fire, you can throw a grenade. They also work. But the reliable ways are fighting around corners and even more just outranging them down a long hallway. Pulling them back to a long hallway and outranging them. That's how they die. Safely. Some questions early game. Despite trying to find shape copies, I found only the 2 of the 20 items. I'm missing something to 100 of hour in a campaign just to get a few upgrades in. No. I'm like less than a half of that. Here, have some like idea. I'm about 45-50 hours in. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted... That's where we click. Right. I'm going to... I've got research. I've got most of cloning. Supply is still in the early game, but we'll get there. Navigation is this deep. Engineering is... No, this is navigation. This is engineering. That's research. So in about 40 to 50 hours you should be here or past this point, depending on how lucky you were, how well you traded, what the missions that came along were, how many times you died with loot in your pockets and everything. Like one of the big reasons why when I find important loot for upgrade I like to call in capsules or go right back to the shuttle and make sure that it comes back is because if you die with loot that you needed for upgrades, it feels worse. It just feels worse. Boudica Scout is carrying my ass very hard. Extra ranger shotgun, yeah. Tanks dude plus stunner rat. That's not the other good combo. The other good combo is the gunsmith Francis with Scouts of Hades. Because with him you can run and gun, you never run out of ammo, and he can just keep keep fighting. You don't need to keep switching out worse guns, which means that you can actually bring good guns into the fight, like snipers, to deal with discs and stuff like that. Should I stay on Mars? Yeah, one of the things that you get early, you need to find a couple of those, what are they called, switchboards, so you can get the mission roller thing. So you can get the monitoring analytics center going so you can find your own missions. Because this, once you get even one of these, your reload is 26 hours and travel time between the planets in the Mars systems are between 18 to 24 hours. So just by traveling between the planets you can refresh the monitoring and get new missions on Mars. My early game included a lot of missions on Mars, one trip to Earth and then a return to Mars, and then I got out of the early game in my second visit to Mars, basically. Yeah, Quasimorphs should be opposed. At least if you're role-playing it that way. If you're role-playing a cult, you wanna work with them. Skulls are not equal floors. No, they are not. Floors are completely independent of skulls. Skulls are a product of the number of power, nothing else. How much power, that dictates skulls. A lot of power, more skulls. And yes, how much power is also how much loot you'll get, because it dictates the amount of enemies and the amount of stuff on the level by the amount of enemies, but you'll get higher level stuff. This is true. If the opposition has a lot of power, you will also have higher tier loot. This is true. So you're more likely to find chips in high power missions. But at the same time, you're more likely to find chips in multiple floor missions, so a low power 4 floor, 3 floor mission is actually better for chips than a high power one. Because you'll have to slog your way through a lot of enemies in a high power mission, and a low power one you can clear quickly and clear multiple. What should be your top priorities? Ship upgrade, chips, yeah, those. Ship upgrades and chips. Classes, more types, and like production and upgrades. In upgrades you want missions, you want shuttle, and you want scanners. Those are the big ones. Weapon upgrades and all of that stuff, class upgrades and all of that stuff, research, that can all wait. What you really need in the very early game is capsule, shuttle, scanner. It makes a world of difference in gathering the rest of the stuff. Trade is hella confusing. Yeah, credit is per faction, and to see what you need to buy or sell, I think we've covered it already, you hover over an installation, and you see what they produce. That's what they're likely to have to buy. And you see required items, that is what you can sell. And if you have poor reputation with someone, they will undercharge you when selling and overcharge you when buying. Basically your stuff sells for less and their stuff costs more. And if you have a good reputation, you'll get the prices listed here instead of getting screwed over. Same taiga, different stats. Yeah, when you have different ammunition types or a modified version of a taiga, you can get different stats on the same kind of weapon. If it's a modified gun, you get different stats. How often do new missions spawn? New missions spawn by a steady rate depending on the power of a faction. A faction high on power will start more missions, and a faction with a lot of locations will get targeted by many missions. But mostly missions spawn when you're traveling between planets. That's when time passes, and missions spawn with the passing of time. And you spawn them yourself from having the developed communication center thing. This thing. Analytics center. This is a navigation upgrade. It takes several of those, what are they called? Switchboards. Switchboards give you missions. Guy looking at the dude looking away and doesn't understand why he won't move. You need to draw his attention. Basically, if an enemy is standing and looking away from you and isn't moving, they can't see you, they can't hear you. I call it blind and deaf, basically. They got distracted by something and they're waiting for that something to show up. So, on the scale of two types of enemies, the ones who wait in ambush and the ones who charge you, they're an ambusher, but they got mistaken of the direction of the ambush. And this usually happens when a bullet misses and strikes the wall somewhere else, so they turn towards where the bullet struck, not where it came from, because that's the sound they heard louder, with how the game like calculates that. And so they turned away from you and waiting for you to show up. and you come up behind them and you can literally come up behind them and shoot them in the back. Or you can draw them in. If you have cover, just shoot them from a distance, draw them in, and then shoot them from cover. Sure, it's a conquest mission against this clan, but it can't be that bad. 47 targets to kill half of them. Yeah, sounds about right. For a high power mission, sounds about right. There's a reason why I like to bring a gunsmith with a shotgun or two and lots of shells. Because that's what dealing with Quasimorphs is like. Killing their cultists. I think that's enough. I've been talking for quite a while. That's enough. Okay. Wow, I talked for a while. I guess we'll cover the mid-game stuff. Do I want to cover it? Let's just quickly go through it. I've already been at this for a longer time than I thought I was. Mid-game stuff. What does it mean to have mid-game stuff? Well, it's pretty simple. It means you have monitoring, so you never run out of missions. You have scanners, so you can do floor 1, 2, and 3 easily. Because with scans of floor 1 and 2, you can avoid a lot of needless fighting and get to floor 3 and complete up to floor 3 missions with significantly more ease compared to having to like randomly wander the first 2 levels and find the exit. And once you get the scanner range to floor 3, floor 4 missions also get easier. Well, for 3 and 4. Mid-game also means you have arsenal, you have weaponry. You can produce armor and weapons, and you have upgraded weapons. You don't have to have upgraded armor, but for mid-game you need upgraded weapons that you can produce. That means SMG, shotgun, rifle. Your standard complement. Augmentings are later stuff. Research means that you have the classes stuff researched. And you have at least one class that you have modified and you're satisfied with. Whatever your playstyle, as long as you have one class that works for you, that's a requirement for the mid-game. Hangar, Capsule, nearly fully upgraded. Shuttle, definitely at least 2 rows. And preferably the trade module as well, with full 3 rows. But at least 2 rows of Shuttle, because if you do not have 2 rows of Shuttle, you will struggle with bringing back stuff from missions. And you will struggle with supplying yourself with upgrades and moving on with like production. Cloning. We do want for mid-game to have some cloning capable and preferably to have your top 2... Where's Genome? To have your top 2 people slightly modified. I'd like to modify Francis a bit more, frankly. But we'll get to that. We will get to that. Victoria got up to 9 vision, 10 vision. Okay. But yeah. Where was I? Yeah. Scanners, missions, armor weapons, classes, shuttle trade, cloning, and production. Mid-game is you should have at least 2 production lines and the ability to slot in a couple more of these. Scavengers are not a mid-game necessity, but you'll probably have them by the mid-game. By the time you're leaving the mid-game, you should have recycling up and running. Like, recycling helps a lot with doing missions on Quasimorph levels, because when you get a package of drinks, when you get this thing as a reward, or when you buy it, the difference between salvaging this by just right-clicking and going disassemble, and putting it in a recycler, even a not upgraded, but let alone a fully upgraded recycler, is massive. Like, disassembling this thing will give you 1 to 5 bottles. Putting one of those things in a fully upgraded recycler will give you like 10 to 12. So the difference is pretty damn big. And the same goes for food, for military rations, for all of these things that come in packs. disassembling things that come in packs, like luxury lunches or clothes, or where was that thing? Electronics boxes, medical components. All of these can be disassembled. Or electronics boxes, where are those things? Any one of them is thrown in a fully upgraded recyclers and you will get a hell of a lot of resources out of it when you're like short on something. You can also recycle all kinds of like guns and energy stuff. Like I like to recycle energy pistols. Once I get the recycler running, it gives me plenty of electronic components to work with for all my needs. It's actually more efficient once you have the recycler running to like bring back energy guns than it is to try and disassemble them on the mission and bring back salvage. Bring back a couple of energy guns, throw them in a fully upgraded recycler, and you'll have as many capacitors, what's it called? Capacitors, printed circuit boards and all that as you want. What else is needed for mid-game? Right, you need enough chips unlocked that when you go into production, you can actually make some decent armor, at least one type of full decent armor. Grenades, I'm still missing the fire grenades for full mid-game stuff, and I'm missing it badly, so I'm restricted to using Molotovs. They make a big difference. I'd prefer to have the fire grenades. You need to be able to make at least one type of spirits, and the medicines and guns that you need. And you need to have at least one decent class. Where are the classes? Something like Scouts of Hades, or one of the classes that has... Where is it? Angel of Spades, which also has training. Training is the big one. You need to be able to modify your class or have a class that has extra range accuracy, because missing in the mid game becomes a lot more dangerous than it was in the early game once people start having weapons that do energy kinds of damages or do more damage. And they're more dangerous and can poison you and set you on fire and do all kinds of other nasty stuff. Or when you're facing melee targets that can race towards you and like in one turn dismember you. So you cannot afford to miss, which means that having plus 10, 15, 20, 25% range accuracy makes all the difference. That, and from chips, we covered components, we covered these guys, class chips, and you also need mine chips. You need to have, where are they? Not genome, this. You need to have operators who are decent. Like, for me, for my playstyle, I need Francis and Victoria. Victoria for defense, control, and missions with discs, so that she can outrange enemies from a position of cover. She really trivializes. With good position in Victoria and a good weapon, set of weapons and a decent amount of ammo and like maybe one incendiary or two, Victoria will trivialize most defense and control and security missions. While Francis, with his weapon durability buffs, means that you can give him a decent weapon and he'll go to town on most other kinds of missions. And he has the health to survive being shot. With 130 health, stuff that will kill other people, he will survive. And he still has semi-decent dodge and dodge chances and range accuracy. When you set him up with the Scouts of Hades and modify the Scouts to have extra dodge chances, I have, like here, combat reflexes in combination with combat focus. This fully upgraded is plus 100% or something like that in combination with this. And so all of it adds up so that even when he does get shot, for like 5 turns, every first bullet misses, which means that anybody who isn't firing a rifle or like a shotgun or something that fires multiple shots at the same time will miss you with their first bullet in any time they shoot at you, which means you have multiple turns to deal with whatever is happening once you get shot for the first time. That and where's the Genome Lab? That and you need vision. You need sight range of at least 9, preferably 10. because there are weapons in the game that have range 9 and enemies who carry them, and if you meet one of them in a long corridor or a large room that's connected to another room by a glass window, they will shoot you from beyond your vision and you will just die randomly by being shot by somebody you can't see. So you need to pick operators or mod operators so they have vision 10. Or sooner or later you will run across somebody with a sniper rifle who will shoot you dead while you can't see them. That's why you need vision 10 for mid-game and late game. Okay. I think that's everything. Covered upgrades, covered chips, covered vision. Anything else? Right, you need the ability to produce some kind of armor. It doesn't have to be upgraded armor, but some kind of armor, so that if ever you get caught in a string of bad luck and you go through your stockpile of armor, you can just make more. So the ability to produce armor and some kind of backpack. Like currently I don't even think I have a good backpack type. Yeah, the best I can make a tourist. I just have a large supply. So technically for a food mid-game I should be able to build these kinds of... where are they? These kinds of backpack. Fighter military backpacks. Well, it doesn't have to be these, but either these or the helper servo backpacks, you need one of these to be fully mid-game compatible. I just have a large supply. Not too large, but a decent one. But I need to get chips for these two as well, so I can make them if I ever run out. The rookie mag vest or chainmail or gladiator or something, that's also nice. Not completely necessary, but nice to have. Basically, being able to reduce the amount of AP you use in reload so that Victoria can reload most 3 AP reload weapons in one turn is really helpful in defense missions when you're getting swarmed. So that you can reload and just keep firing. And that's that. Okay, this really stretched out longer than I thought it would. So I'm gonna call it there. Because my throat is kind of tired of talking and this was a lot of talking. If you're still here, thank you for listening and thank you for your time. Hopefully, see you next time.